Am I wrong for journaling in binary, so my husband can't read it? The title pretty much sums it up. I, 23 female, wanted to start keeping a journal again, since I found it helps me sort my thoughts. My husband, 24 male, is pretty nosy. He'll try to open the door if I take a shower at weird times, and will get upset if the door is locked, because I must be up to something, and I can write in binary off the top of my head. So I decided to journal in binary for privacy reasons. He tried to peek over my shoulder while I was writing last night and was unhappy when he realized what I was doing. It turned into this big argument until he was finally able to pressure me into reading it to him. He says what I was doing was sneaky and suspicious, and that the entire point of writing a journal about things I don't want to or can't talk to him about should be so that he can read it and be privy to that information. I guess I can see where he's coming from, but I've also always been a person who values privacy, and it's been wearing me down not having any over the last year that he's been unemployed. Am I wrong for purposely writing it in a way I know he wouldn't be able to read? Will I be wrong if I keep doing it anyways? Am I wrong for taking my sister to a doctor without my parents' knowledge or permission? Throwaway account. I, 30 male, am currently going through a conflict of morality and need an outside perspective. Preferably from people with a uterus and parents/guardians of underage girls. Backstory: my parents had me very early, and I was raised mostly by my mom. When I was young, my mom married my stepdad and had my baby sister, Emma, fake name. When it was time for me to move out and go to college, my sister was very upset. I had to leave when she was asleep. That first year was really rough for her, and she always begged our mom to call me so she could ask me when I was coming home. By the time I graduated undergrad, she thought I was moving back home and got sad again when I told her I wasn't. I consoled Emma and told her that, even though we weren't going to be living together, that I would always come to see, love, and be there for her. Fast forward to last week and I get a call from Emma, and she was in tears. She told me that her period hadn't come for the second time this month and she didn't know what to do. Naturally, I asked if she thought she was pregnant, and she said she never had sex. I asked if she spoke to our mom, but she said she was too afraid because our mom, who thinks no period equals pregnant, wouldn't believe her, and her religious and conservative father would raise hell. I told my sister that I would come get her in the morning. I did as promised, ask my mom and stepdad if it would be okay if I took my sister for the weekend, and they had no problem with it. Emma looked awful, like she hasn't been sleeping well for days, and I was really worried about her. In the end, we decided to go to urgent care, and if anyone asked, I was her legal guardian. They ran some tests, and she was not pregnant. Once we had definite proof, I convinced Emma to tell them, so we could know what was really going on. I was with her for support, and when she told my mom and stepdad, they were furious. They said that I had betrayed their trust, and I had no business taking Emma to a doctor without their permission. I tried to explain my reasoning, but they kicked me out. After a few hours, I got a call from my mom saying that Emma's phone was taken away. They forced her to delete all her social media and said that I couldn't see her until I begged for their forgiveness and swore to always tell them what Emma tells me. I refused and said that if anyone needs to beg, it's them to Emma, because if she felt like she couldn't tell them her health concerns, then they've obviously failed as parents. My mom was very upset by this and said that Emma wasn't allowed to talk to me until further notice. At the time, I honestly felt like what I was doing was right, but I'm not a parent, and I'm starting to question if I was wrong. Am I wrong? Edit. Grammar. Am I wrong for telling my sister that literally anyone can get knocked up? I'm a medical resident with no kids. My sister is a mom with no jobs. I don't judge women who stay home with their kids, but kids simply are not for me, and it would drive me crazy to live with them. My sister on the other hand has a son, and to be fair to her, he's a great kid who's really smart and bright. However, he is her whole identity. She's constantly bragging about her son and her only personality these days is being a boy mom. I was in town, so I joined my sister for dinner at our parents' house. My aunt was also there, nephew was crashed upstairs, and my parents were telling her how proud they were of my residency placement. Very competitive field, difficult to get into. My aunt made an offhand comment and asked my sister if she's going back to school. My sister said, "No, we all have our talents. Op can study all day, but she could never handle being a mother with fertility issues. She would find it as difficult as I would find med school." I'm paraphrasing, but you get the point. I was annoyed because my sister has this sense of superiority around being a mother, while I'm not one. She basically was saying I would be a bad mother if I was one, and that the 8 years I spent in hell devoid of free time is nothing compared to having an unprotected ex and facing the consequences. So I said something snarky back. I essentially said literally anyone can get knocked up, and being a good mom is literally the bare minimum. It seems like you don't realize how hard eye ducking worked. My sister left the table, aunt left early, and parents are pretty upset that my sister and I ruined dinner. However, I've put up with her looking down on me for not being a Stepford wife for years. Am I wrong? Edit. I absolutely did not mean to make a dig at my sister's fertility issues. I wasn't thinking in that mindset at all, and didn't realize that it could be taken that way. I really just wanted to tell her that I don't think our jobs are of equal difficulty. Edit 2. Thank you guys seriously for helping me make the connection in understanding why my words were so hurtful. I didn't even realize I made it to get her infertility, and I've been in bed crying and reflecting because I feel like a mega butthole. Right now I'm formulating an apology, and I'm going to go talk to her. Am I wrong for ignoring my dad because I know what he wants to talk about? I, 18 female, found out 6 months ago that my dad had another daughter. He cheated on my mom and we were born 3 months apart. She's older. My mom found out when I was younger. I never knew the reason for my parents' divorce until that. I know this girl. We went to school with each other. And we hate each other. We always have. My dad has been pushing me to have a relationship with her since they started having a relationship a few months ago. I have always said no. That our relationship doesn't change because of what I now know. I do not like her. I think she is a terrible person. This is all my dad wants to talk about now. And for the last 3 weeks I have refused to take his calls or respond to his messages. It's exhausting having the same discussion over and over again, and he won't listen to me. I have been clear and direct with him, but he keeps pushing. Am I wrong for ignoring him? He's getting really pissed about that on top of my refusal to have a relationship with her. Am I wrong for being honest with my son that I have no interest in meeting my grandchild? I have a young grandson who I've never met. My son married someone very controlling and nitpicky, and when she was pregnant she got upset that I wasn't excited. She kept demanding that I show excitement. She demanded that I buy all of the baby clothes, but she got to pick them out, and I told her to duck off. She then made a big deal about me swearing at her and demanded an apology. I stopped responding to her for a while and she demanded that my son give me an ultimatum. I refused, but they didn't go completely no contact because she was still hoping for gifts. She then freaked out because she found I was going to be out of town when her son was born because I was going on a trip for my friend's birthday. She demanded that I cancel, and it got into a conversation about family being more than blood, and I said I don't consider her family. She made my son, he was upset and didn't want to go no contact. It hurt, but I accepted it, and 6 years later he reached out. Honestly, I wasn't very excited and had to get in the right headspace to meet up with him. but I'm glad he is back in my life. He is still married and wants me to see her again and meet his son. I'm really not interested. The thought of meeting him or seeing her fills me with dread, and at this point it just feels like an obligation. I told my son it was too late and I'm not interested. Now I feel guilty for saying it, but I still don't want to meet him. Am I wrong for not wanting to share my snacks with my coworker or workers anymore? I like to bring snacks to work almost every day to munch on in the afternoon. I usually bring some chips, cookies, popcorn, mixed trail etc. Basically snacks that I can eat throughout a period of time. My coworkers have noticed my habit of bringing snacks to work and would eat some, which I don't mind at first. However, it has gotten worse because I noticed that I've been spending more on my snacks while actually eat less because they always eat their share. Now, I don't mind sharing of course, but there are times when I kinda want to eat it all by myself. Yesterday, I was eating my snack when a coworker started to put his hand inside my bag of chips. I was not in the mood to share, so told him you can't have any. Somehow that makes him mad, saying you're so stingy, it's just a bag of chips etc. That makes me mad, so I replied you're the stingy one. If you like to eat so much you should bring your own. I said that because I know he and a few others never bring anything to share with and yet always eating mine. I know it sounds petty and stupid, but the way he and the others telling me I was the bad one cause I don't want to share is making me so upset. So, am I wrong? Am I wrong for telling my dad it's not my job to make things equal? I, 20 female, grew up with a blended family. My parents divorced when I was young. My father remarried when I was still young, and I lost my mom when I was still young and had to live with my dad's family. My stepmom and I have always had a tricky relationship. In the early days she tried to compete with my mom and was very territorial when my mom was around, like trying to force me to hold her hand and always trying to move things along. If I saw my mom and went up to hug her, she forced hugs with me. Then when exchanges would happen, if it was in front of my mom and didn't take no for an answer, I resented the hell out of her. Then my mom died, and it was a terrible 2 years after. My stepmom was hurt I hadn't wanted her at the funeral. She was hurt that I wasn't enthusiastic about living with them. I wanted to do the same 50/50 with my dad and maternal grandparents who were a huge part of my life up to that point. It got a little easier. I have never really cared much for her, but after a while I did try to be nicer and more inclusive, but I have never given my relationship with her as much effort as I did with my parents. This has apparently bothered her, and recently she brought up how much effort I used to put into making gifts and cards for my mom when she was alive. She actually kept track of that stuff, and how I would always buy her a card and get her something generic for gifts. Apparently this has always bothered her, which is why she competed so much. She also pointed out I never made an effort for Mother's Day with her. That it was obvious I didn't want to celebrate her on that day. The truth is, Mother's Day has not been a celebratory day for me since I lost my mom. It's just a day where I'm reminded of my loss. Even a decade later it still feels that way. Especially when I see friends post with their moms and stuff. Anyway, things really soured between us after she brought this stuff up, and yesterday my dad told me that I should try to make things more equal because it hurts her feelings and she's been in my life long enough to have earned the same effort I used to put in with my mom. I told him it was not my job to help her compete with my dead mom, and it wasn't my job as a kid to keep things equal between them. Am I wrong? Am I wrong for dropping out as bridesmaid after my best friend played my fear on me? I, 21 female, has always had the T-phobia of being scared of holes/shapes. Just the name of the phobia gives me goosebumps. Fair warning, don't look it up if you don't know what it is, because it's how mine started from a very young dumb age of not heeding warnings. Curiosity did kill the cat in me, and there's not resurrection back from it. My ex-best friend knew this, because she was the one who told me about it, and encouraged me to look it up. I don't blame her, because we were young, and she's not afraid of the phobia, so I think she didn't know everyone was the same as her. My anxiety doesn't get triggered when I look at honeycombs, or the seeds on strawberries or lotus, but I did lose my appetite on those black little sesame looking dots on king crab legs. Specific, I know. Ex-best friend is getting married by the end of November despite the global issues, but it's supposed to be a close-knitted, private wedding and everyone will follow guidelines. I was hesitant at first, but she was my best friend, so I did more research on how to be safer. With bridesmaids, maid of honor, and bride, been on video call a lot to fix some last minute emergencies that were out of our control. Everyone's stressed, but because they're in a city with concerningly high positive test rates, they're extra stressed, while I live in an okay city, so there's not a lot of cases. So, technically, I'm not as stressed as the bride and maid of honor. I must have looked relaxed during the last video call because the bride, ex-best friend, was asking me to help out more, and it's a mean thing to sit back relaxing, while everyone's stress and anxiety level is really high. I told her that I literally can't be there to help, because I'm in a different state. Maybe I was too snappy, so I apologized, and offered to help with things that can be done over the net. She was still silent and suddenly she just popped a T-phobia image in the video call. I was taken aback and screamed, what the duck is she doing? I ended the call. I couldn't scrub the goosebumps off my arms and I physically felt nauseous. I texted her why she did that and ex-best friend said it's what I get for rubbing my relaxation in her face. I don't take lightly of my fears, and she knows about this particular fear that I had to get therapy for and still in. I told her to apologize to me. She doesn't because I deserved it. I felt disrespected and frankly, disgusted with the image and with her behavior. I said I'm not comfortable attending her wedding anymore, and now I got everyone blowing up my phone saying I can't do that when it's so close to the wedding. Changes can be expensive and possibly delay the wedding, but I feel that I deserve basic respect. English is a second language. Am I wrong for forcing my daughter's school to change the rules? Before you all jump to calling me a Karen, let me explain. So my daughter, young female Clem, goes to a school that has recently changed its policy on phones. Instead of getting it back at the end of the day, the school keeps it for 4 days, not including weekends or holidays, and then a guardian has to come collect it after school. We were not made aware of this new policy. We live a good hour and a half away from school. Well, on Thursday my daughter came home late and said she had to walk home because the school had taken her phone. Bus tickets are on their phones, and buses aren't taking money to avoid contact. I asked her what happened, and she said she was checking her texts in the toilets when a female teacher came in and confiscated it because she was in a no-phone area. That same night I contacted her school and set up a meeting with the head. He told me the school realized taking phones for the day wasn't a big enough deterrent, so now they take them for 4 days. I was floored. My daughter had to walk home in the dark and cold because the school held her phone overnight. I told them what my daughter had told me, and they confirmed that's what happened. I told them that I have no issue with them taking the phone for 4 days at school, but they need to give her phone back to her after school so she can get home safely. After a bit of debating, they finally agreed. When I told my husband, he rolled his eyes at me and called her Karen. He told me that Clem should walk home as punishment, despite the high crime rate in our area. Am I wrong? Edit to clarify some things. 1. Clem did tell the school about her ticket on her phone and went to the main office for the £1.20 bus fare as a last resort, but the school wouldn't give it to her, and buses aren't taking cash as of recent. 2. Neither the students or parents were made aware of this rule at the start of the school year. Many kids just assumed rules were the same as last year. 3. I don't get home until 5:30ish, but my phone is always on in case of emergencies. My other 2 children did not let me know about Clem not being back until after I got home, which is when I called the police. She got home at around 6:15 p.m. I was told by police to stay home with my kids. 4. My husband has since apologized for his stupid statement. If anything else needs clearing up, I'll add another edit. 5. We are not changing schools because she's doing her A-levels and only has around 7 months of school left. It'll cause more hassle than it's worth. 6. No, Clem could not get a taxi. We don't have taxis where we live, only Ubers, which you need to order on your phone. Also, don't waste your breath of you/visibly piano 0. They seem like a massive shit poster on a power trip. Also, the reason why I'm not actually punishing Clem is because she was in a toilet cubicle when a female teacher came in and looked through the gap. She claimed that she was looking for a younger student who was at risk to themselves and others and saw Clem in the cubicle on her phone. Don't worry, Clem wasn't using the toilet, but it's still creepy. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe and press the like button below.